Hello, everyone. It's a little bigger so you can see me. All right. Today we're going to be talking about peer review. And the characteristics of living things, how living things are organized. That's what our discussion is today. So, what peer review is when multiple scientists look at somebody's work, their research, and they review it to look for errors and mistakes and make sure what they did is right and it's true. So a lot of times other scientists, let's say a biologist does an experiment testing whatever in biology, and he comes up with certain conclusions and results, and he sends out his work to another scientist, a colleague in biology, and he says, hey, can you check this work for me and make sure it's good? So the other scientist may do the same experiment as he did, and he'll go, or he or she, they'll go and do the experiment, make sure they get the same results, then they'll pass it off to the next one and the next one. So peer review is really important to help us distinguish between real science and pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is false science, it's fake. So peer review is super important in the scientific community because if it's not peer reviewed, we can't really count on it to be real science. We can go, okay, that's a cool idea, but I want to see it be peer reviewed. So it's really important. It makes it so you don't really question whether it's real science or not because you know it is. And I love these animations. The scientist with this paper, if I can get my thing going through the gauntlet here. It's really tough to get a peer-reviewed article because everybody's looking to make sure that your design is good, that your results are correct and accurate, that your conclusions are accurate according to the results, you're making proper inferences, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty crazy. The reason we like peer review is because of this word right here, bias. Now, bias is leaning or favoring one thing over another. So, a lot of scientists are actually biased nowadays because they're being paid by certain companies to say certain things. Like some scientists may be doing research for a wine company, finding something that's going to make them the wine seem like it's healthy. Like, oh, wine a day, a cup of wine every day is good for your digestive system. Well, we all know that because it's made of fruit, and fruit is good for your digestive system to keep you regular. So we gotta see through that kind of thing, and hopefully we can get a bunch of peer-reviewed articles that tell us and help us know that the science is real and it's not just some study that one scientist did and it's not validated by other scientists. So peer review is super important. I love this one too. Reviewer one. Oh, you're good, man. Oh, reviewer two. Yeah, that's pretty good, I guess. Well, that didn't seem too bad. And then reviewer three comes in and just destroys him. So that does happen. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's move on. All right. Now we got to know the difference between a theory and a law. As you can see from this slide, I actually wrote down the definition. It is very important that we understand what theory means. It is a phenomenon that has been tested, repeated, peer-reviewed, and accepted by the scientific community. So there's a lot of evidence for a theory. Now, theories are tentative, which means they're subject to change based on the evidence. So if we find different evidence for the theory of evolution, we can change it a little bit. If we find different evidence for the Big Bang Theory, we can change it a little bit. If we find evidence for the germ theory, we can change it a little bit. But what I'm saying is it has been tested, repeated, peer-reviewed, and accepted by the scientific community. So these things aren't just ideas like what we see in our TV shows and stuff. I have a theory. They're really saying I have an idea. So just remember what the real definition for theory is in science, that it has evidence backing it up. You got to know that has evidence. Right? It's been tested, repeated, peer-reviewed, and accepted by the scientific community. Now, tentative, gave you a definition for that, and ethical. Now, there are a lot of theories that have ethical issues behind them. Ethical is a moral issue. So, if it has anything to do with morals, so back in the day when the theory of evolution began and Darwin came out with all this stuff, was an ethical issue because of the beliefs of people in religion. They didn't believe that things evolved, they believed that everything was created the way it is and it doesn't change. And Darwin said something contrary to that, and so it was an ethical issue, moral issue. Now, another ethical issue we have today is abortion. Abortion is an ethical issue. So it just has to do with your morals, how you were raised, what you think, what you feel, those types of things. So that's what ethical means. Now, a law summarizes a set of observations about the natural world. It's a natural phenomenon. So, like the theory, the law of gravity, I drop this pencil, right? I just start letting go and it drops because, it just happens. So we summarized the observations we've made and we have mathematical evidence for it as well. Whereas a theory explains why the natural phenomenon happens. And one cool thing is they're both based on hypotheses. They can be used to make predictions and they can be revised. They're tentative based on the evidence we have. So that's good. Science is always changing. All right. Characteristics of living things. First, let's look at how things are organized. Now, this year we're going to start with the atom and we're going to move all the way up to ecosystems and biosphere and talk about that at the end of the year. So our next unit is the chemistry of life unit. So we start with the atom, building blocks of matter. You put atoms together, they make molecules. Put molecules together, they make macromolecules. Macromolecules are like fats, proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are your DNA. Okay. You put macromolecules together, you make organelles like mitochondria, nucleus, cytoplasm, things like that. You put organelles together, it makes a cell. Put cells together, it makes a tissue. Tissues make organs. Organs make organ systems. Organ systems make up an organism. You put a bunch of organisms together, it makes a population. Populations make communities. Communities make ecosystems. And ecosystems make the biosphere, which is everything that's living on the planet. So all these things work together and they build upon each other. Life is very organized on this earth. It is extremely organized. It's chaotic, but the way your body is organized is amazing. It's so cool. And the way populations work together to make communities, it's just blows my mind all the time. So pretty cool. Now, here are the 7 characteristics of living things. Cellular basis of organization. Has to have a metabolism, has to be able to respond to stimulus or the environment, has to be able to reproduce, has to be able to move, and it has to be able to grow and maintain homeostasis. So there's 7 characteristics that living things must have in order to survive and be characterized as living. So it must be made of cells. Okay, that's it. All right. It must be able to have a metabolism, so it must take in energy or use energy somehow. We have a metabolism, whether it's slow or fast. That depends on your genetics and the way you eat and things. So we just have to convert energy, just like a cactus or a tree or grass. They all have a metabolism. All right? It's the chemical reactions in your body. That's what metabolism is. Now, you have to be able to respond to a stimulus or the environment. Okay, I want to show you this cactus. Here, let me increase my screen a little bit. There we go. Okay, let me show you this cactus. This is Starburst. Look at her. She's sassy, so watch out. Now, look at her. I had her out in the sun this summer. And which side do you think got the most sun? Right now you've seen all of our sides. If you guess this side, you're correct. It responded to the stimulus of the sun and the environment. The sun was hitting right here most of the time, so it grew all these little buds off of it. Okay, so I twisted it because I started noticing it. 3 weeks later, I started seeing all these other little buds right here. Pretty awesome. That was pretty cool just to see how Starburst responded to the sun and how much sun she was getting. Pretty awesome. I love that. It's fun to watch her grow too. So let's just say, oh man, I'm thirsty, right? Like this picture right here. I'm thirsty. Your brain goes, oh, look at that water. I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a drink because I'm thirsty, right? That is responding to your environment and the stimulus. Where the flower, the plant, is going to grow towards the light, most likely, just like Starburst did, responding to a stimulus. All right, reproduction. Now I understand red blood cells are the only cells in your body that don't actually reproduce themselves, but they do carry all the nutrients to your cells to help them reproduce. So, cells in your body are constantly reproducing, making new ones. So, that's pretty cool. Like you get a sunburn like I did the other day, and my cells are, killed a bunch of the cells on the top because of the sun, and they have to reproduce and replace the dead ones. That's pretty much it. You just got to be able to reproduce. So, next, we have movement. It has to be able to move. Now, this is a sea anemone. Sea anemones don't sit there and, walk around. Well, how they move is that when they reproduce, they bud, and they send a little bud. Oh, yep, it moves, floats through the ocean, and moves over. Now, these little tentacles, they move around and swish through the ocean, and, they get little friends like clownfish to help them out. But that's how they move. Flowering plants or even cone plants, they move. Okay, I love fruit trees because, gosh, they're so cool. I mean, they're so smart that they create this fruit that an animal will eat, most likely with the seeds. Humans, we don't eat them, but most animals will eat it with the seed. They don't chew up the seed sometimes, and then they poop it out with fertilizer on it. I mean, seriously, that's movement, right? So that blows my mind. Oh man, I'm gonna eat this fruit. Oh, now it's got fertilizer and it can grow. That's pretty awesome. So plants move too. We're not just talking about swaying in the wind. All right, has to be able to grow. I've really enjoyed watching my daughters grow. It's been really fun. It's been fun to watch my cacti grow as well. So growth is a part of being a living thing. Now, am I still growing? I'm 6'6". Well, I can grow wide-wise. I can get wider, but I'm growing because my cells are still reproducing and growing. My skin is different, right? The last thing is homeostasis. You have to know this word in biology. Homeostasis is like the most important word in biology. It is maintaining a balanced internal environment. I will repeat. Homeostasis is maintaining a balanced internal environment. Now, most of the time we think about body temperature, where if I'm cold, I shiver, and if I'm hot, I sweat. So, yes, that is homeostasis of your body temperature. We still have to maintain a water balance, blood sugar balance, hormone balances, all the different hormones. And if you throw just one little vitamin or mineral off, you might end up with scurvy. So if you're really low on vitamin C, you get scurvy, this disease that's pretty harmful and can kill you. So all you need is vitamin C, right? One little change can make a huge difference when it comes to homeostasis. And that's it for characteristics of living things, how living things are organized, and peer review. All right.